Thank you, everyone. Hello. All right, not bad, not bad. But I know you can do more. You can do better. Hello. Yes, thank you. Just show me some love. Come on. My name is Robert, as Jonas introduced me already kindly. And I'm very thrilled and thankful to be here, to be talking to you. And also a hello and a warm welcome to everyone watching online, friends, family, colleagues. I know they all tuned in, so it's great to see those people are, online. And yeah, as I said, I'm thankful, and thank you to Maxon for inviting me over to present here. It's an honor. I think it's my 10th IBC or so, and my last presentation for this year. So I hope we have some fun when we'll talk about creative problem solving in Cinema 4D. I'll be showing you the last three, or some of the last three projects that I've been working on lately, and I will kind of dissect them and tell you how I made them and how they've been made. A little bit about myself. I work as a motion designer, as a creative director in Munich, and sometimes I work alone on smaller projects. Sometimes I collaborate with friends like Steve, Akira, Michael, Daniel, Max, and so on. And it's a real fun, creative, collaborative way. And sometimes I'm also booked in a studio to work on some bigger scale projects, so really depending on time and what I really want to do. And what I will show you today is my approach to some challenges, as you would have to say. You should avoid to talk about problems, but call them challenges that I stumbled upon while working on these. And I might be the worst Cinema 4D artist that's presenting here, so but I think, or I hope, I have a good eye for how things can look nice, and I have other skills in Photoshop and After Effects, so I can add to whatever I produce out of Cinema 4D to make it hopefully look nice. So I will show you some of my ways. It's not always the best way, certainly not the only way, but it's my way. And I really hope you will like it, you will learn from it, be inspired, and maybe take out something from that. So hope you'll see that I really put into every pixel. I put my heart and my soul into it, and therefore I would like to show you my current showreel before we get started. Thank you so much. Thank you. So normally this is the time where I start to talk about some jokes to ease things up. We have so much stuff to show. I'll just show you this one. A friend of mine sent this to me. He found it on cgmemes.blogspot.com, so I don't take credit for this. But I really laughed hard because it kind of reminds me of what we're doing is just graphics and just design. I mean, I love it. But then again, we're not doctors or anything, you know, we just do design work, so it kind of puts things into perspective, take things, a few things a bit more easy. And again, sometimes you feel like that, your boss tells you, no, shift it over, shift it there, shift it over, and it's never ending. So let's get started. I have three projects to share. The first one, fun with bubbles, set extension, and virtual stand-ins, and VR. So the first one is going to be fun with bubbles. So what's that about? This was for MediaMarkt. It's a big electronics shop in Germany. They sell everything electronics. Very popular there, and they always have funny commercials and big campaigns going. And this was done at a studio where I was freelancing for, called Liga 01 Computer Film in Munich. The agency was Zum Roten Hirschen, and the client was MediaMarkt. So what was the challenge for this project? The challenge was to make an animation look almost exactly like the print ad. So they had a print ad they came up with first, obviously. So they sent that to me, and it was just this quick board of how things should go. So it's just a little animation. The bubbles should come out. They should like be squash and stretch, so very organic and bubbly and fun to watch at. But I thought, okay, it's going to be an After Effects thing next to Cinema 4D. It's my favorite tool. But then I found out that it's going to be a little bit tricky because animating masks as a more or less frame-by-frame thing is going to be very, very challenging, and especially if you have a lot of iterations that you have to do, then it's going to be a nightmare. So I thought, okay, how can I do this? Then I had the idea of maybe using C4D to actually create those bubbles, but still to make them look like a flat 2D design. So that was the solution. Basically recreating the bubbles in 3D with Cinema 4D, making them look 2D. And this is how they look like as a wireframe. And this is how they, this is the reference, how they should look like. So it was pretty close, and I would like to show you the C4D setup that I came up with for this project. So how I started was, I just created a background object and placed the image as a reference, so I know what shape I have to follow and to achieve. So once I had that, I created a quick capsule, just a simple capsule. I'm just going to hide the background quickly. And I knew this capsule should be my bubble. I want to turn this capsule into my shape. And the way I could do that to achieve this very specific shape was by using several splines. So I have one spline here. I can quickly show this one. And the second spline here. And those splines are creating the shape that I want to have. So how can I merge those two together? Well, there's a tool that you'll find here which is called Spline Wrap. And Spline Wrap is fantastic. You should try it out because it allows you to actually take a shape and wrap it around any spline that you create. So what you have to do for this is, you see the spline controls or the object controls. You have spline and rail, and all you have to do is just drag and drop the spline and the spline rail into this. And now you're almost ready. Not quite. Well, it's taking the shape, but we're not there yet. And then I remember the demo from Maxon, where they reminded us to check out those little triangles. Sometimes the magic sits behind a little triangle. Really unsuspecting, but when you toggle this open, you will see that there's much more hidden. So you can, let's say, I want to animate or change the size. I can keep the scale from rail, and I can take these down and see what happens now. Now the magic happens, and I can interact with this very easily and put it into any shape that I like. And I can also add control points. So this is the way I played with this. It was a lot of back and forth until I got to the final shape. So it was something more like, I don't know, more like this. So you can play with this. And, but let me just hide this quickly because I want to show you how I animated it. Because now we have the shape, more or less. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Or actually, I can also show you the final shape if you want. So this is the final shape. And when we look at the spline wrap, we'll be able to animate that with the from and to values. So this is pretty straightforward. We can set a keyframe right here. Set a keyframe. This will be the end. Go to frame 0 and set another keyframe. And when we play this back, you will see this is our animation. So this was fine as a first test, but I wasn't quite there yet. And client said, yeah, it's nice. OK, we have the basic shape set up. It works nice. But it should be bouncy, but not too much. It should be organic and fun. But again, not too much. It shouldn't go crazy. So they sent me a little reference. I think this was done by a friend of mine, iDesign. if I recall correctly. And this is like the squash and stretch that we're looking for. So quite balanced. So I went back and I tried to find a good way to make this squashy and stretchy with an easy way without doing it manually. So you can go into your MoGraph effectors and you can add the delay effector to this animation. So once you do that, you will see that it's basically doing nothing because you have to tell it what it should do. So you go to the deformer and you have to set it to point. And let's reduce this to have a faster preview. And now you can see it eases into the animation. But that's exactly what we don't want. So you have to go to the effector and change the mode to spring. And as soon as I do that, you will see that this whole thing has this squash and stretch look that we were looking for. And you can actually play with the strength to make it more or less squashy or less stretchy. And that was the excellent way to go, because at the end, I think we had about 40 iterations. So it was quite a lot. So I think I tried almost every parameter just to find the right one. Here are a few that I go through. Then again, there was this idea of making them look more like balloons, so they should rotate around a little bit. Then there was a question about how do we map the typography onto that. Basically, if you're wondering what it says Hauptsache ihr habt Spaß, which is, the main thing is you're having fun, enjoy yourself. So that was a bit tricky. Initially, they wanted to have the typography be on the balloon or on the bubble from the get-go. But then we decided not to go with this version, but let it come on after the bubbles appeared. But for this first version, you're wondering how I did it. Well, I mapped and I baked the texture onto it, so all the UV coordinates are following along when the bubble is coming out of its origin. So these are another versions. This was too slow. And then the question came to how to shade it. How can we make it look almost exactly like the Illustrator file that we received, especially with the reflections. So if we go back really quickly, you will see that these are the reflections on this, and these are drawn. They're not moving, they're not interacting with light when they spring up. So it was challenging because I thought, okay, there's no way I'm going to match it 100%, and I told them, and they were fine with it. So thankfully, we could use the Toon shader, and for this, I'll show you the setup. So I created the Toon shader in the luminance channel. There's a cell shader, and I would like to show you how it is affecting the look of it. So basically, these are the reflections. They're roughly the same position, and I have a diffuse red color, and I have the highlight color. So if I make this larger, you will see that it will grow. If I make it smaller, it will be a tiny reflection. And I can play with this. And I have a setup of, I think, a total of 8 lights or so. And each light is illuminating or affecting just a single bubble. So if we go into the light on the left side, for example, we go to the project settings, you will see that it's excluding the middle and the right-hand bubble. So it's only lighting the left-hand bubble. So therefore, the same applies for the top light. So this is left light, this is top light. And if I go ahead to the coordinates and move the light around, you will see that the reflection is moving around the bubble as well. So this was a lot of trial and error as well, just to get the position right and to match it as close as possible. But after a while, we managed to get it right, and client was happy. And then we only had to do about 30 more iterations of how fast it is and how squashy and stretchy it is. I just go through some of them so you see how it looks like. And if you notice, if you watch closely, you will see the spiral logo and how it will come out. And you can see it kind of overlaps, which obviously wasn't the idea, but it was quite difficult, at least for my skills in C4D, to make it come out exactly this way. But they were very, they didn't want the spiral to be changed or touched or animated. So it's kind of a holy thing because it's part of their logo. So I had to go back to After Effects, and basically the brown layers, the 4 brown layers on top are the typography layers, so they animated on frame by frame, or almost frame by frame. And the rest of it is just animating masks just to make the spiral shape match perfectly with the rendering for C4D, so it looks like it's one one object, and I can show you the final version on how it looks like. So yeah, this is the final version. Ran for I don't know how many commercials on TV. So it was kind of funny because normally I'm proud when I see something in theaters or on TV, but working on this for so long, I was like, oh no, the commercial comes again. So I switched off the TV or something. But still, I'm happy how it turned out, and I'm proud of it. So let's get on to the next one. Are you still with me? Everyone having a good time? Yeah, cool. No one is asleep. If you see someone asleep next to you, just give him a bump, okay? And then, because this one is going to be fun as well. It's a set extension project for a short film called Hardway. Hardway, what is that? It's an action musical. What is an action musical? My reaction was the same when I first heard about it. I was like, okay, is it a musical? Is it an action film? What is it? And it's both. And it's directed by a talented director called Daniel Vogelmann. He is studying at the HFF, which is a famous university for film in Munich. Guys like Roland Emmerich and Bert Eichinger came from this school. I don't know if you heard from them. They made small budget movies like Independence Day and so on. So fingers crossed that I have good ties with this guy. Once actually he finished already, and this is his graduation film. And the last guy here, Florian Decker, is a friend of mine. He works at Scanwork, and he was the VFX supervisor for this film. And he asked me like, "Hey Rob, do you wanna be part of this?" And he showed me the first cut of this with a lot of green screen in there. But the production value of this movie looks amazing. This looks like a $1 million film. It's quite amazing, and it has a lot of action scenes, pretty gory. And a lot of singing and dancing. And that was Daniel's vision. He loves action movies, he loves musicals and music. He's a musician as well. So he thought, let's do a merger of both. So there you have the action musical. So when Florian came to me, he showed me a couple of shots that he did as reference. It was shot in Dessau in Germany. It's an old rundown factory. Red bricks and looks really, really amazing. Actually, this should resemble like a Detroit factory, like some abandoned place, a little bit mysterious, and a bad guy is hiding there, or bad guys, and a SWAT team will come to the rescue or to get rid of this guy. But the SWAT team is not called SWAT, but Beat. So they have Beat on their backs instead of SWAT. And I said to Flo, okay, so what is the shot that I should be working on? And he showed me this one. This is the original plate. It's been shot on red cameras at 6K, so it's pretty detailed. So I thought, cool, yeah, looks nice. So it's an important shot. So what do you want me to do with this? And he said, well, just remove the buildings on the right and on the back, and just make this thing look like it's on a rooftop. So just extend it down, put the street down, and get rid of this and get rid of that, get rid of the tents. And I was like, oh boy, okay. I know I'm very good at Photoshop, so I thought, okay, maybe it's a 1 or 2 days of work. I know my skills. So I jumped into Photoshop, and I thought, okay, let's give it a try. So I opened up the original image, and I knew that there's a few tools, and this is the German version, so bear with me. But you find it on Filter, and it's called Vanishing Point in English. So you click on that, and I know my way around this tool. So you just basically define the perspective and try to be as quick and accurate as possible at the same time. So basically, you define the perspective, and you help Photoshop to find how things look like in perspective. So rearrange it a little bit. And you can hold down the Command key, and basically, you are mapping the wall to Photoshop. So as you can see, the perspective lines up almost perfectly. So I thought, yeah, maybe I'm going to be done in a day after all. And I just extend it down. And yeah, you're almost done. So all you have to do is to select the clone stamp tool. You select your source, you line it up, and you start to paint. And as you can see, this will enlarge things perspectively quite nicely, make it smaller and bigger. And this works quite well. And the cool thing is, let me just get rid of this one here a little bit. And I'll show you a trick. If I want to paint on this, hang on. Clone stamp tool. Okay, it's playing jokes on me. But anyway, you will see if I select this window and move it to here, it will scale down in perspective. So it's actually quite fascinating. Of course, you have to clean this up a little bit, but it will give you a fairly good result. The problem was, how do I get this and this wall, and especially this one? So I figured out it's going to be not just Photoshop. So this wall was fine. I did this in Photoshop. But I had to go back and figure out a way how to do it in C4D. And I really didn't want to do it in C4D because I knew it's not going to be just a day's worth of work. But I didn't have any other chance. I already said yes to the project, and I wanted to do it. I saw it as a challenge, and it's something as fun, and also to expand my skills, and also be part of this exciting project. So I had to, first I had to find the perspective of this scene with the camera. But since it's a locked camera and there's no motion, there was no way to track it. So let me show you the scene, the way I set it up. Because if you have a moving camera, you can use the motion tracker in Cinema 4D, or you can use the motion tracker in the other tool and just get out the camera. But there's no motion. It's a locked camera. And I remember there's a tool in C4D that allows you to get out of the still to get the camera. Does anyone know that tool? No one. Who doesn't know the tool? Show me your hands. Don't be shy. All right. OK, cool. I don't believe you. You know it. It's a tool called Camera Calibrator. And just as Vanishing Point, I think Adobe could go in and say, we have a new feature. It's called Vanishing Point. Probably 90% of the people would believe it. Oh, it's amazing. No, it's been there for about 10 years. Same for Camera Calibrator. I think it's been there for 4 versions or so. I don't know. And so few people know about it. It's amazing. Let me show you. You create a scene. You put in a camera. And then you go to tags, Cinema 4D tags, and you will find it right there. It's called Camera Calibrator. You select this tool, and you apply it to the camera. And in the Camera Calibrator, you have the option of choosing an image which you want to calibrate on. So let's go ahead, choose that image, and make sure you go into your project settings and your render settings, and you match the render settings and the pixel settings of your image. So it's a 6K image, exactly the same ratio and everything. It's all there. And now what you can do with the Camera Calibrator is you can go ahead and calibrate it very similar to the process that I showed you in Photoshop a minute ago. So we can add lines, grids, and a pin. And I'll walk you through this really quickly on how you can achieve and calculate the camera position of this shot. So I'm just going to, again, draw a square, just a grid on this area here, and try to be as accurate as possible. But you have to tell C4D where each axis is. It doesn't know. So we hold down the Shift key and say, all right, this is the Y-axis, and you will see it right here pop up. Again, hold down the Shift key and tell it this is the Z-axis. So what do those colors mean? Yellow is kind of like, it's OK, but OK, we're getting there. Green is cool, got it. Seems like a legit perspective. Red is telling me, come on, try harder. You know you can do better. So let's go ahead and add another grid. So I'm just going to find something that is hopefully working better with this. So let's add this one here. And this one maybe here. OK, and again, I have to click. So this is the Y-axis, and this is the Z-axis. And we're getting there. You know, it's already liking what I do. And now I'll do another one just for the X-axis. OK, so this is X. And I will add another line. Try to be as fast and accurate as possible, although doing it live. And I know this length. I looked up how large this tent is, and I know it's exactly 2 meters. So I define a length so it knows what the ratio and what dimensions we're talking about. And now I need to add a pin. And as soon as I click there, you will see in the middle of the picture there's a pin, and I can drag and drop this onto this line. And you will find out that this is the source of my image. So we have 0, 0, 0 right there. And I can create a background object and a camera mapping tag. So I can select my object. And as soon as I create a cube, for example, you will see that this cube now can be moved along. It's not quite perfect. I should invest a bit more time into getting more lines. I think you should have about 7 to 8 lines on grids. But basically now we have recalculated the rough position. And I will jump to the actual final calibrated position, because you will see how many grids and lines I applied. There's a grid here, a couple of lines there, a couple of lines here in the background. And as soon as I create a cube here, now you will see that now it matches pretty much perfectly what we have. So this is pretty cool. In fact, it's quite amazing. But how do I get the light now? Well, that was tricky, because I thought, okay, well, I have the position, but I need to match the light. Well, for this, I just created a sunlight. And for the sunlight, I know that you can set specific details on where the light should be. So I asked Florian, when was the shot? This was shot August 3rd. You can see it right there. So I punched in the date, August 3rd, 2015, at 1:52. And I Googled the position of this area. So I put in the longitude and latitude coordinates, and boom, I had the exact same coordinates in C4D with the lighting as it was just on this day. And also I activated the physical sky, and I just created a floor as a reference, and I added a little SWAT guy in there. And when I render this, you will see that the shadows pretty much match with the original shadows of these guys in the background. So this was pretty easy to light. And yeah, this is the way this was solved, so that was fun. But we didn't have any buildings yet, and I just want to quickly walk you through the process of how the buildings were added. So you will see the wireframes. So in total, I added about 3 buildings, and we go all the way back to the final graded version. So on the left, all this is Photoshop, and all that is CG, and the middle of the street is also Photoshop. So these are the walls. Basically, I looked at the architecture, had a ton of reference photos, which was great. So I studied how this thing looks like. I built the wall. It's a 4x4 meter wall. I built it all into proper dimensions. Used the variance shader for those little stairs, those little 3, I don't know what you call it, the top. So it just adds some variation. I wasn't too detailed because you don't see it too close up. But I modeled 3 different types of walls: no windows, small windows, and long windows. And yeah, I think it's not detailed enough for a close-up like this. But for what I had in mind, it works quite nicely. I didn't have any textures yet, so that was the next step. How do I get the proper textures? So I looked into the reference photos, grabbed a few textures, and wanted to make them tileable. So I remembered there was this tool on my iPhone from Adobe, which is, oops, sorry. Let's go back one slide. It's called Adobe Capture. And Adobe Capture allows you to basically, oops. Let's go back. Sorry, bear with me. So Adobe Capture allows you to either take a photo and use this as a texture, or use a photo from your photo camera roll or your Creative Cloud roll or something. And what this will do is actually interactively will allow you to pinch and zoom to get the proper texture dimensions. And this will also allow you to blend the image into the seam, so it's basically seamless. So you interactively see what you are doing. It's quite fantastic. I always thought the Adobe tools are maybe just toys or not ready for production, but they are actually quite useful. So you should check those out, and they're really powerful. Especially this tool, I use it quite a lot for textures, but also you can use it just for creation, just to create fancy things, because you can set up if it should be like a hexagonal shape or a square shape like this, and you can just go ahead and save this texture either to your camera roll or to your library and access it directly and put it into Cinema 4D as a texture. So this is the next set of walls that I built, based again on this original one. Just different architecture for the different wall. This is the reference that I was kind of orienting myself on. So it's a long building. All those little windows are hand painted in Photoshop and added as a texture. So that was quite quite a tricky part. And as you can see, I even inserted scratches and debris and broken windows. But then again, it's not meant for this close-up. So how about versions? Well, after the first version, I was like, cool, done, boom. Client likes it, director loves it. And then he said, yeah, but. And you kind of always hate the I like it, but. And then it was, okay, we need to change a few things. We need to add cars in the background. We need to lower the street a bit more. We want to add, on the roof, we want to add some water tanks. And so on. So I did all this afterwards. Most of it was Photoshop. So you might be wondering, how much Photoshop work is it? Well, it's a lot of Photoshop work. Like, really a lot of Photoshop work. In total, it was about almost 200 layers that I added. A lot of painting, a lot of making it look dirty. I basically had a clean version in C4D, and I dirtied it up in Photoshop because I didn't want to mess around with tiling and repeating patterns. So I just thought it's way quicker to do this in Photoshop. And I'll have a quick breakdown of, how this looks like. If you pay close attention to each area, you will see how this will shift and change over time. Adding the 3D objects from C4D, adding contact shadows. I also added a little graffiti, which is ENMR, which stands for my two sons' names, Elias and Noah. Marina, my beautiful girlfriend, and Robert, obviously. So I always add those details. Sometimes I add our birth dates into UI elements somewhere floating around. So in almost every project, you will find a little personal thing right there, which stays there forever, hopefully. So yeah, so that's how this thing was built. So a lot of fun. A big learning experience for myself, very grateful for it, and yeah, it was good. So let me show you a little sneak peek. It's still a work in progress, so bear with me, there's a lot of green screen stuff in there, but you'll get an impression of this little short film. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's about dancing and an action movie, about shooting and I don't know what. So it's a lot of fun.
With me, sing for you, Emily.
Pop it, bloody fucking mind.
Trust me, and finally you'll be free. Oh, finally you'll be free. For Emily, you will free yourself from all that hate and be free. You are free now.
Thank you. Great job. Gotta admit it, Robin. Well played. What, am I missing something here? You distracted him, I took the shot, right?
He was singing, Jake.
So?
You don't shoot somebody who's singing or dancing. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, exactly. You don't shoot somebody who's singing or dancing. Everyone knows that, right? So this is how it looks like. So again, bear with me with the green screen stuff, but I think it looks quite amazing. There was no color grading whatsoever on this. So hopefully this will be finished soon, and it's going to be looking very nice. Next one, virtual stand-ins and VR. You kind of had a sneak peek of virtual stand-ins with that little SWAT guy I just showed you. I'll be talking a bit more about this and also VR. And the project this was based on is for VersaStack. And I created a cinema graph for them. Who doesn't know what a cinema graph is? Show me your hands. All right, that's fine. We're all friends. I won't tell anyone. A cinema graph is basically something like a live photo you would shoot on your iPhone. So it's a still with some animation and movement on it. So it's basically a locked camera, and some small animation is happening on the image. So that's basically a cinema graph, like a live photo. This was for a client called AVNet Technology Solutions in Germany. The agency was Die Wegmeister, and I worked together with a talented photographer and friend of mine, Calvin Hollywood, who did the photo part of that project, and I did the animation and CG part of this. So I'll quickly show you how this looks like and what the idea was. The idea was in the briefing was to have 3 guys standing there looking like superheroes, and each one represents a specific technological feature like robust speed, flexibility, and so on. And each of those superheroes has this specific effect. And where is this playing? Well, this is for the website. So this is on the website. You can mouse over on each of these guys, and you will get to any of the corresponding product sections. And yeah, this is the animation. It's basically a loop. I added some effects like on the hands, the glows. It's actually a sapphire glow that's running on. The burning hands is using Saber from Video Copilot. It just came out 2 days before this, and I was like, oh my God, thank you. Heaven sent, because the effect was very easy to apply, and some effects on the guy on the right. Added some glows, added some dust, added some particles that are floating around, and obviously the background that was built in CG with Cinema 4D. And initially, the idea was to use stock footage or stock image as a background, but we didn't find anything that is really suitable. And I thought, hey, why not create it from scratch in Cinema 4D? I love sci-fi movies like Star Wars, so I thought, hey, why not build your own environment and your own little server room where these guys are standing in? That was the idea. So this is the room, just as an overview. This has been rendered at 7K, so pretty high res, so that it can also make print stuff out of it. And this was big fun because, again, complete creative freedom. I did the whole concept. I mean, it's nothing super crazy, but it was still fun to do and to create. And I'll show you a quick making of on how this came to be. So yeah, what does it have to do with virtual stand-ins? Well, when the project started, we didn't have any photos. So I started out with modeling and creating the background and the room, and I will quickly walk you through the process of how that was done. Pretty much straightforward, nothing too fancy. So let me just load this up. So this is the room. We can navigate through that a little bit, so you will see it's some nice textures on it. It looks very complex, but in fact it's quite easy because it's basically using the array tool a lot. So I have those pillars, and let me just activate the viewport solo hierarchy. So these are the pillars, and if I toggle off the array object, you will see that this is just an object that I built from scratch. Just some lights added here. This one is the outside walls, and if I zoom out, you will see it's the whole room, basically. And again, just one wall piece that it's replicated. The same goes for the ring. It's actually, this one is an object from Video Copilot's Fantastic Motion Graphics 2 set. He has some amazing models in there that you can use and mix and match, and some futuristic stuff that you can just build, not just for Element 3D, but you have also OBJ versions that you can use in C4D. And obviously also the servers, then again, is just one object, and then used as a disk array to rotate around in the room and to make up that final room. But we also have our heroes hidden right here, and let me just fly into those so you will see our heroes. And these are standing in as stand-ins because I wanted to have something that's more a visual representation of what we were going for, instead of just maybe using this guy here. So I thought the original stand-ins looking way better, and these represent much more what I wanted to have. But how do you get these? How do you get these? Well, there's an app called Fuse. I don't know, who has heard of Fuse, Adobe Fuse? No one? I guess so, because it's kind of flying under the radar. Really, not too many people know about this tool. And it's actually a very, very cool tool. It's quite fascinating. When I first found out about it, I was like, oh my God. And it's free, it's still in a development stage. So let's choose this male head. We can choose a torso. We can choose legs. Obviously, also we need some arms. And then we can go ahead and customize this bad boy. We can make his arms bigger or smaller. We can make them shorter or longer. So you can customize the hell out of this. It's quite amazing. And I know my son loves firefighters and fire trucks, so let's just build a fireman right here. So we can choose the bottoms, which are the pants. Obviously, he needs some shoes, so let's go some, excuse me, some maybe he should wear these, some proper shoes like boots. And you can look at it from any angle or any side, this fireman. And we can add facial hair and hair, hats. And let's go ahead and choose this firefighter helmet. We can give him eyewear like glasses, beards, gloves if you want, masks, like this mask if you want. And again, you can just toggle it on and off. You can click on that mask again and choose to get rid of it again. So it's very flexible. And of course, you also can work with the textures. You can dirty it up. You can make it clean. You can change colors. You can even specify the resolution of these textures. And you can save it to CC libraries. So you have direct access in Photoshop. Great for storyboarding or any putting it as a reference or even just using it as a properly rendered thing. Or you can save it to Maxon mode to animate it. And if you do that, you have to punch in the name. It will upload it. It will take a while. It's quite huge. But I can also show you how it will look like online. And it will actually go to your library. And you have my characters or my animations. So I have this guy here. It's like a zombie with a gas mask and long hair playing air guitar. So this is based on Mixamo. So the service belongs to Adobe now. And Mixamo does auto-rigging, but also has some mocap data applied to those characters. So you can also take the firefighter that I just built and let him dance capoeira if you want. So you can choose tons of animation, walk cycles, running, jumping, hiding, and whatnot. And you can just queue this as a download. And you can get this into any of your tools, for example, into Cinema 4D. As an FBX, you can choose Unity, Unreal, Collada, and so on and so on. So you have a lot of options to choose from. You can queue the download, and this will download it straight to your machine. And I will show you how it looks like if you want to import one of those. So let's go ahead and import that warrior into Cinema 4D. It's an FBX file, and just import it as it is. And I will walk you through some of the things that you have to watch out for. As you can see, this looks a little bit weird because it's transparent. For some reason, transparency is on for all these. So all you have to go to the material editor and turn off transparency just to make sure that this guy looks correct. And it helps sometimes to turn off reflectance as a default. And then you will see this guy standing here. And if I play this back, he is completely rigged in a relaxed position, moving his arms. And I will show you the the joints that they are. So you'll see how this is rigged. And again, you can use this in your projects. It's quite amazing, and it's currently free if you have Adobe Creative Cloud, and it's quite amazing. The mesh looks nice. The textures are quite cool. You can bump up the textures resolution-wise as well. So I use these as my stand-ins for my project, just to give it some dimension and some scale. I gave this to Calvin Hollywood, a photographer, as a reference. So this is how they should be positioned. And this helped a lot for the project, but you're, of course, free to use it in any other creative way. So a lot of fun. So then a couple of weeks later, I stumbled upon one of these babies here. That's the Google Cardboard viewer. And at first I thought, when I heard about it, I was like, okay, this has been out for a year or so, I think. I thought, okay, cardboard, VR, okay, what? I mean, is this a joke or what? And I tried it out, and I was amazed how good it actually is. I don't know, who has tried out one of these? Yeah? It's quite amazing, isn't it? I mean, given that it's just a cardboard with 2 lenses, put in your phone. But I still wasn't hooked or anything to VR. I know all the hype and everything, but I was like, I don't know. Tried out the Oculus Rift 3 years ago when it came out, the first one, and I didn't really like it because the resolution was really not high enough. And then a couple of weeks later at a conference, FMX in Stuttgart, I met a friend of mine who works at Oculus Story Studio, creating all those fantastic short films like Lost and Henry that just won an Emmy. And he showed me this in a kind of a private session. He let me try out the Oculus Rift, the final one, and I was completely blown away. I was like, oh my God, this is quite nice now. This is really something I want to play with more. And I thought, well, this could be something nice. And I tried to play around with VR and 360 stuff in Cinema 4D and try to find ways on how to get something out of Cinema 4D that is immersive and nice to look at. So in my spare time, I looked up how can I get something VR out of Cinema 4D, and I found this tool. It's from Cineversity. It's the CV VR Cam tool, and it's quite nice. And I'll show you what it does. So let me open up the corresponding project for you. It's this one. And it's basically the same scene. I cleaned it up a little bit, I rearranged a few things, but it's the same scene. And this was perfect for me because I knew I had the whole 360 covered. I didn't intend to do it as a 360 thing, but I know it was covered. So I thought, hey, why not use this as a playground to try out my first 360 video? So how can you do this? Well, you download CV VR Cam, and there's an option to merge a camera rig into your scene because we want to get out 360 videos. So that's what you have to do. You click on this, and what this will give you is it will create a rig that has 6 cameras, 6 virtual cameras, and this is basically the same thing as you would do in the real world. You know, the real world outside, you know, with sun and hot and everything, not just in front of the computer. You remember? No, you don't remember? No, it's nice. You should try it. You know, it's quite nice. And so, like for example, GoPro has the setup of, I'm not sure what it's called. I think, does anyone know the name of this? I forgot. You know, GoPro has a setup where you can put in 6 or I don't know how many GoPros, and one is facing front, left, right, behind, up and down, and this will stitch together this 360 video. It's quite amazing what you can do with this. But that's the same thing in virtual reality. So we have a front-facing camera, we have a left, a reverse, a right, an up, and a down, and we have a render setting that actually merges these views into one view, allowing us to have an immersive 360 experience. But there's a few caveats you have to watch out for, and let me just show you these. If you see that little oval shape here, this is kind of a guide that helps you to get things into proper dimensions, because it's important to have a proper dimensional setting if you look at it in VR, especially in stereo 3D VR, so that things are not too small or too big, depending on where you are. So actually, the guide is to make sure that these oval shape fits into your scene. So basically, a little bit higher than what your scene should be, or a little bit lower actually. And what we can do for this, we can select this and go into the object mode and go into scale and reduce it by half the size. Okay? So I'm just punching in 0.5, click on enter, and just going to rearrange it a little bit. Just lower it down, and actually this is about 1.80 meters in height. So this is about a little bit higher than I am in eyesight. And now this oval shape is more or less fitting into this scene. But there's another important thing you have to watch out, and it's user data. And this is about eye separation, because eye separation is defining the size immersion that you have in 360 VR. So right now, I know I divided it. I basically reduced it by half. So we have to do the same thing. So I say multiply by 0.5, and we get 3.2.5. Obviously, it's very easy, but for some different values, you might just use this way. And now we have the proper eye separation. So how can we render this out? Well, for this, you go to Plugins, CVVR Cam, and say Create Render Settings for you. So this will create automatically render settings that are matching perfectly what you will need, for example, for YouTube or Facebook VR. And the one with the white brackets is selected. And as you will see, this will set up the proper render settings for you. So it's a 4K resolution image that it's outputting, actually a video. And you can use that to watch it in VR. So how does it look like when I render this? Obviously, I won't render this right now because it takes a while. But this is that basically you will have. And this is already the comp version. In fact, what I did is I just rendered a still of the background because it rendered a couple, I think, 2 or 3 hours. And then I went ahead and animated this arm. So it's starting behind you, so you can look at it behind you and you can follow it. So it's in front and it's actually snapping at you. So I know it's not too crazy, but it's like my first steps. And I just wanted to share my insights with you. And this is how it looks like. You have the left eye and the right eye. So it's an equirectangular stereo 360 video. And I took this into After Effects. I added all the glows on the lights, all the blinking that's happening there. And I comped on the arm and made it like a 30-second video. But you're not done yet because you have to ingest some metadata so that YouTube and Facebook reads it properly as a 360 stereo video. And for this, you have 2 options. I haven't tried the first one because it just came out with an update to Adobe Creative Cloud. The media encoder, you have the option of saying that this video is a VR stereo video. So I think this will ingest the metadata. But before, I was using a free tool which is called the Spatial Media Metadata Injector. And what this does is basically you open up the video and you say, yes, my video is spherical 360 and it's stereoscopic 3D as well. You click those 2 and say inject metadata. And this will create a copy of your video called injected. And you can upload this to Facebook, YouTube, and so on. But I found it very, very frustrating. And especially I wanted to look at it on my Oculus Rift because I had to copy it over to the PC or I had to upload it to YouTube, be able to watch it, I have to wait. So I found a little tool, and this is from GoPro. It used to be Color from that company. Oh, there's a new version, cool. But actually, you can just drag and drop this, and there you have your video, and you can just pan around, and you will see it in a 360 immersive experience. But this is not as immersive as looking at it in cardboard or even on your phone. Actually, if you like my Facebook page, you can actually check it out on your phone. I have the link later. But when I tried this on the Rift, I had an experience I didn't have for about, I don't know, when did I graduate? It was about 12 years ago. When I did my first animated 3D short film, when I saw my characters move in front of me for the first time, they came alive. I was like, oh my God, this is something I drew, and now they're moving and alive. It was like, oh, Frankenstein or something. You know, it was such a touching moment as a creative person. And I didn't have this for a long time, working in commercials, and it's always the same. And I put on the Rift, and I was like, oh my God, this is the freaking room I created. I can look around, and it was such a nice feeling. I was really hooked into VR, so I hope to be able to do more with that. But I just wanted to share my thoughts and my experiences. And I'm almost done. And here are a couple of links for you if you want to see and install the tools. But again, I'm going to post these tools on my Facebook site as well, so you can just download them. So it's fantastic to play around. Check it out. Have lots of fun. I hope you were inspired. Hope you had some ideas. If not, maybe you just got entertained. So yeah, thank you so much for attending. Thanks for everyone online that watched. If there is any question, feel free. We have, I think, a minute or 2. Anyone a question? Yeah, no one? I'll be here in the booth for a couple of minutes, so if you want to have a private question or anything. So yeah, thanks again so much, and stay tuned for Mark Potocznik's talk about lighting. It's going to be fantastic. He's a great guy, good friend of mine. So we'll be starting about 5 minutes. Stick around. Thanks again so much. Thank you.